Hi there, everyone, and welcome to Paper Wishes Weekly Webisodes. I'm Sara Newman, and I'm so happy you're joining me for this episode of Saturday with Sara. Today, I'm really pleased to show you an absolutely stunning new collection from our friends at Stamperia called Golden Harmony. We have a patterned paper pack along with a set of rub-ons plus coordinating chipboard die cuts. So let's take a closer look. I'll move aside our chipboard and also our rub-ons just for now, and we can take a closer look at our paper pack. So here you have 10 double-faced sheets. They measure 8 inches by 8 inches. When I open this up, you can see on the inside front cover, you've also got a lot of options for fussy cutting elements. Then take a look at the patterned papers. Beautiful designs, gorgeous illustrations. Of course, Stamperia is well known for creating these really nice collaged backgrounds where you've got lots of layers of texture on here, or faux texture. Everything is designed, of course, to coordinate perfectly and to be really easy to use. Now you also have a lot of cutouts in this collection. So here's a great example. You've got some illustrations on one side, and then on the other side, lots of room for personalization. Here again, we've got lots of nice cutouts for the front or the inside of your card. And again, you've got a second option on the back cover. Here you can see lots of words, phrases, a funny little shape here that will turn into an envelope for a card later. And then you've got, again, some room for personalizing those. So it really is a wonderful pack full of lots of elements. Now again, here on the inside back cover, you also have some cutout options too. So that is our paper pack. Then we've also got a pack of rub-ons. It's no secret, I am a big fan of Stamperia rub-ons. I love the images and how beautifully they transfer. Now there are instructions on the back of the package, but I'll also demonstrate them for you today. Then, of course, we also have our pack of chipboard die cuts. There are 30 die cuts in the package, so I've put them onto 2 pieces of cardstock so you can see them better. These are made of an 800-gram cardboard, nice and durable, and I really like this weight. While the pieces are sturdy, you can still layer and collage with them. I also like how you have a lot of different size options, so elements that are great as card focals, which you can see here, plus lots of smaller images that you can use to accent your card with as well. So lots of layering options, lots of card focal options in there as well. So as you can see, we have an absolutely beautiful collection to create with today. I'm really glad you're here, and I'm so excited to explore the creative possibilities with you. So come play with us. Let's start with this design, which features some really gorgeous floral elements. I have a large chipboard die cut piece here, layered onto a cutout from the paper pack, to which I've also added some floral rub-ons. So let's take a closer look at how to put this all together and create a really simple collage like you see here. Okay, so first I've covered my card front with this gorgeous kind of a wallpaper style of design. And I cut a really narrow strip of the faux wood paper, which looks like this. Of course, you can have this reading the stripes going either vertically or horizontally. And this is what I've done. I've just trimmed off one of those pieces and then matted it onto a piece of rose-colored cardstock, which you can see. It's a very thin border on there. That cardstock comes from the Floral Luxury cardstock pack, and this is from hot off the press. You can see those beautiful colors down here at the bottom. So that's what's going on across the front of my card. And then I've inked around the outside edges with my Delicata gold ink pad. Now my focal is a cutout from the paper pack. So remember this sheet here. I'm using this one up here at the top. And as you can see, I've added in my floral rub-ons, which just really create another layer of dimension on here. So I've got lots of open space in this cutout and put it to use with those big, beautiful florals. So these are, as I mentioned, really easy to apply. So let me put aside my papers. And I'll bring in a little swatch here and then one of the rub-ons. So when you've got your whole sheet like this, all you'll need to do is grab a pair of scissors and trim out the design that you want. When you do that, keep both the top layer and the liner together. You'll separate those when you get ready to do the actual rubbing on. Now what you'll need to have on hand is a bone folder. I've got this one from Hot Off the Press, which works really nicely. So what I'm going to do is just separate those two layers now. I'm going to be really careful about how I handle this. I don't want to touch the back of the design because then it can come off on my hands. Then I'll press this down, figure out where I want it to go, press it down, and smooth it down completely. Now what I like about these is that there's a bit of stick to them, so you can see it's not going to go sliding around all over the place. Then take your bone folder, and I just go in at a bit of an angle, and I'm burnishing that design in place. You don't need to put a lot of muscle into it. It's not a fitness workout, but you do need to have some nice, firm, even pressure on here. And you can take your time. So there's no rush. Make sure you go around all of the outside areas. This is important if you have something that's got a lot of detail to it. And then I've got a little piece that's hanging off the edge. I'm going to slowly start pulling this up. I can see I didn't get all of those tips transferred, so I just come back and do that again. And slowly walk this off. There we go. Make sure everything has transferred, and we've got our beautiful flower right in place. And it does just add a beautiful layer of texture and kind of faux dimension on here. Now you can leave this as is. You can then start layering up from here, so you can add in additional layers as well. So I've got my large piece on here with my floral element just added on top. So this is the chipboard piece, but take a look. You could just simply pop that right down, overlapping, and you've got a beautiful collage effect on here. So that's what I've done for the front of my card using that square piece. Now I also inked around the edges of this square piece too, and for this I used the Velvet Fawn dye-based ink pad from Hunky Dory. And I'm also using, in today's webisode, the mustard ink pad too. So two which may look quite similar ink pads, but they do have a difference. I do really like the Velvet Fawn. It's quite a dark color. It gives you lots of nice dimension. The mustard is lighter, of course, and I've done a little swatch sheet here so you can really see the difference. The mustard, as you can tell, has a reddish tone to it, and this has a little bit of a softer look. Of course, I've also added in my Delicata, that's that pigment gold ink pad on there, so that you can really see how the three can go together if you want them to, and how different they are as well. So just depending on the look that you're going for, you can make your choice on that. But I've used that nice Velvet Fawn going around the outside edges, and just thought it looked awfully nice together. So then I've also got some foliage going on around the outside edge here. These are made with the Frosted Flowers die set and one of my favorites, the gold glitter cardstock. Okay, as you can tell, I'm running a little bit low on that gold glitter cardstock. I do use up every last little bit, and die cutting from this cardstock is a great way to use all of those little pieces that you may have left over. And they do die cut really nicely. Even though, you know, there's a lot of detail in these elements, it die cuts beautifully. Now the gold glitter cardstock comes as an 8.5 by 11 sheet, so you'll have something much bigger than this. All you need to do though is take your cutting die, place it down on here, run it through your die cutting machine, and you'll get this beautiful effect without glitter going all over your craft room. So that's a nice bonus for people who like to die cut and who like the look of that glitter but not the mess. Now I really like the Frosted Flower set. Of course you've got the flower elements on here, those blossoms, but I really love the foliage and I find it super useful for lots of projects, especially when you have floral images like these chipboard pieces. and you just want to add another type of texture, whether that's plain cardstock or glitter cardstock or another specialty paper. So these are just tucked in around the outside edge of this cutout. Then I've also got 4 gold self-adhesive gemstones from Hunky Dory and a crepe ribbon tied down below here. Then for my card inside, I have a strip of patterned paper inked with that gold. Plus I have a cutout. I've got a chipboard flower cluster, a rub-on butterfly, and a cutout, and a sentiment from the Script Greetings Dazzle set. This card also includes some of the Frosted Flowers die cut elements, also used to enhance a chipboard die cut embellishment. So you can see I've got lots of layers going on here on the front of my card. So let's start at the bottom and we can work our way up. So first I've covered the front of my card with this pattern paper, and I'm taking advantage of the border printed down at the bottom of this sheet. So I lined this with the bottom portion of my card front, glued that down, smoothed it down, and then trimmed around the outside edge. And I've inked around the outside edge with the mustard ink pad here, and that's going to give me a nice soft effect going around the outside. Then when the ink was dry, I wrapped the green jute twine around the front of the card. So I can open this up quickly, and you can see that it shows on the inside. So I've looped it around twice, and then the open ends are kind of taped down underneath this large floral element. So they're hidden here. Then I have a cutout as my focal. So again, coming in with some of the cutouts from our paper pack. It's this one here. So everything is printed on there, the bird, the foliage, and the message on there as well. I've cut that out, inked it with that mustard ink pad, and then I used some foam tape to adhere it to the front of my card. Then I've also got this large, beautiful curve of a die cut. So let me show you this here. It is absolutely stunning. And this just gets placed right along the edge of my cutout piece. Now I have this kind of propped up on some foam tape too, right over here, so that I can keep everything even. So I've got some dimension on here, but I don't have things buckling or bowing on here too. And then I've got another chipboard flower up here at the top. I have this little word enjoy. This is another one of the cutouts. So here's the sheet that it comes on. You can see down here at the bottom. And you can also see just how many options you have on here. There are so many beautiful elements, lots of different sizes and shapes on there too that you can choose for your collaging. So I have this just glued, overlapping. This bottom portion is up on foam tape, again, to keep things even around on here. And I've got a little butterfly rub-on kind of flying right into the center of the card. Now, tucked around the outside edge, I've got my Frosted Flowers foliage, and these have been cut from plain cardstock from the Floral Luxury Cardstock Pack. So nice to have some different shades of green in here to add some variety on there. Then on top of the jute twine, after I've got all of those elements down, the last finishing touch is this bow. Now, the bow is tied separately, and I love the jute twine for this because it really works so nicely. So I've just grabbed another piece of this. I think you can see it's quite fine, which is really nice. It adds some texture, but not a lot of bulk to your card front. So what I'll do is I'll just tie a bow in that jute twine, and I tie it from a long length of twine. I don't try and cut it and then try and work with a little tiny piece. But then what I'll do is, let's see, I'm going to grab this piece of cardstock here. And I've got my bow on there. I'm just going to snip this off, save this, of course. And then I'm going to bring in my Cosmic Shimmer acrylic glue. Of course, I've got it in this precision applicator. And I'm just going to put a little teeny tiny dot down here, or wherever I want to put that down. Bring in my bow, position that here. And then, until that dries, I'm just going to pop a clear acrylic block right on top of that. And that will hold that bow in place. Because the block is clear, I can see through it and make sure that that bow hasn't sort of slid off to one side with that liquid adhesive. And then just shimmy that off to the side and wait for that glue to dry. And then I've got my bow perfectly in place. So a nice little tip that you can keep in mind there. Then for my card inside, I have some of this gorgeous solid green cardstock, plus this chipboard piece, as well as the Grateful cutout on here. This is also popped up on foam tape, again, to keep everything level and even with that chipboard piece, which is pretty thick. I've also added in some more of the foliage on here, just to add in another little bit of dimension. This card has a similar layout to our previous design with the wrapped jute twine, the layers of chipboard collage, and these cutout elements in here too. This one also includes a fun little mini envelope, which is one of the cutouts from the paper pack. So let's have a look at that and see how we can add it to our card front. So first I've trimmed out this little envelope piece from the cutout sheet. Super simple to do. And then I need to decide which side I want to have facing up. So because this is double-sided, you've got some options in here. And then all I need to do is just fold this up. So what I'm going to do is place this here. I'm going to bring in my ruler because I really find that having a straight edge to fold up against is a lot easier than trying to sort of eyeball it and freewheel it. So I'm just using this to score up those sides. Here's the fourth one. And that just makes it a little bit easier and straighter because I need to make sure I'm folding on this straight side here. And then what I'm going to do is fold up the bottom and then fold in the sides and then glue those together. Now, of course, you can decide to have the whole thing folded up and sealed, but I like to have something that's kind of peeking out from the envelope. Now, if you want to add some extra inking around the outside edges, which I did using my mustard ink pad, then go ahead and do that before you fold and secure everything in place so that you can add that ink, let it dry, and then begin your folding. Now, the nice thing about the smaller size ink pads is that it's easier to get into some of those corner areas there than it is with a larger ink pad. It's just a little bit more nimble. So I've simply folded up my envelope, just the three sides, bottom and two sides here. I left the top of this open so that my chipboard butterfly can come fluttering out on here. So then the rest of my card is fairly simply designed. So I've started with a bit of brown cardstock from the Floral Luxury cardstock set. That's covering my card front. And then I've trimmed down a piece of this wood paper. Remember, I just cut off a border of that for our first card. So I have all the rest of this to work with. So I've trimmed that down and added it to the card front. Then I've also got this other beautiful piece in here. Again, trimmed down a little bit smaller, and then I'm able to get those really nice borders on there. When I've glued these two together, that's where I wrapped my jute twine. So when I open up my card, I don't have the jute twine wrapping around the entire front panel. I just have it going around these two pieces, which are then inked and then glued to the front of my card. And then again, as with our other card, I've got my jute bow glued on here separately and not as part of the entire border piece on here. Then I have my cardstock element, which is a cutout here. So this beautiful Inspire piece, that's placed down. And then I've got the wood chipboard piece and of course that butterfly. I also have this really sweet little corner cut out down here, which I really like as an anchor for my sentiment. So the sentiment, again, one of the cutouts. And again, take a look at just how many you are getting from this sheet. So this is the open space where my envelope was. And then take a look, I've still got so many other words and sentiments and images on here that of course all go together so beautifully. So I've added this little corner down here at the bottom. I've got my sentiment up on some foam tape. Then for my card inside, I have more of this beautiful pattern paper. I have 2 different sheets, which I've separated with this narrow border of a 3rd pattern paper. I use the Velvet Fawn ink pad, so the one that is a bit darker, and I've used that to ink around the outside edges of my cutout because I wanted a little bit more definition, so something a little bit more dark and dramatic here going along the edges. And then I've got one of the floral rub-ons, which I applied onto this darker pattern paper, and it still shows up really nicely. So you don't have to go only with the light designs or a white cardstock background. You can also add those right into some darker colors of pattern paper and cardstock. Then I've got one of the little birds from our cutout sheet from the paper pack as well. For our final card, I have a lot of fun collaging on the card front, plus a little surprise on the inside. So let's take a closer look at this, and we'll talk about the die that I used to create that fun shutter design. So first, you'll notice that the size of my card is a bit smaller than my normal 5 by 6.5 inch card base. So in comparison to the cards we've looked at today, you can see that there is a size difference on there. And so what I've done here is simply trim down the base of my card and then also added in the shutter mechanism with a die. Now the die that I'm working with is the shutter card cutting die. Of course, hot off the press is going to make this really easy to do. So you have one metal piece inside here. You've also got a card project idea. Then on the back of the storage folder, you've got your written instructions, another look at that project, plus a diagram with all of your measurements on here too. And I like this because this keeps all of my measurements, my instructions, my ideas together with the die. So I just keep my die inside here. It's a nice sturdy folder, so it holds really well. So that's what I've got here. Then I'm simply following the instructions along here and creating my card base. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my regular 5 by 6.5 inch card blank, and I'm going to use that as a foundation. So the first thing I want to do is trim off basically all of the back portion except for 1/2 inch. This is the fold right in here, so 1/2 inch from that fold. The rest of the card is going to get trimmed down to 5 inches by 5 7/8 of an inch. So I'm trimming off this bottom portion and then this whole side here. So I will have a piece that looks like this. Okay, so again, folding up here, going along the fold of my card and then taking that bone folder and making sure that that is scored really nicely on there. So this is my starter foundation of my card. Then I need to grab that die and do my die cutting. So again, it's just one piece. It will give you the outside shape. It will also cut this inside window, and it will give you your score lines here. And I've marked on here valley folds and mountain folds. So since those are scored, then you'll just come along and score them up a little bit more. Again, that bone folder comes in handy for this. And the next part of the process is super simple. Just grab a double-sided adhesive, and I do really recommend for this using the extra sticky tape because you are working with your card base, and it really does make a difference in terms of the strength and durability. So I put a strip of that extra sticky tape on this tab, and then simply place the shutter portion on here. Smooth it down, and then you've got your card mechanism in here. So once that's glued down, then you are ready to go. So let me show you here with my finished card how this will look. So I've covered the front portion of my card with some of the cardstock from that floral luxury set, and then my inside here is also that double-sided cardstock. So a double-sided cardstock will work really nicely. It gives you a nice two-tone effect in here. And that is just glued right on there. So let me show you the back of my card. I've added a little bit of pattern paper on here and then one of these really useful straight line gold dazzles just to add a little finishing touch on there. Okay, let's come back to the front of our card. There's so much to look at. Again, I've covered the front of this with that light cardstock, and then I've added in some patterned cardstock. This one with the letters on it, which I think is really pretty. I've just trimmed that down, slightly smaller than the front of my card, and I inked around the outside edges with mustard. And then the square portion is a cutout from the paper pack, inked with velvet fawn and popped up on some foam tape. Then I've got a flower ribbon on here. Let me show you the one that I'm using. It's this large blossom right here, which I just think is so beautiful. So that's right here. I have a little leaf ribbon. I think it's this one here, just peeking out from underneath, and another little flower right at the corner there. Then layered on top of that, I have some chipboard pieces. I've got that clock. And then this was one of my favorites, this really pretty stack of books with the mug of tea or the cup of tea right on top of there. So those are my elements stacking up on here. I have the Life is Beautiful as well as the Believe in Yourself cutouts. Now these are also up on some foam tape, again for a little bit of dimension. And then I've got this little tab cutout from the paper pack that I've just used to kind of anchor one side of this. Another chipboard piece is with this moth on here. Now you'll notice I've also got another one of those gold straight line dazzles. So this is the sheet, and you've got two different sizes or different widths, some wider width and then a narrower one. And this comes in some different colors, and these are really useful just for an extra kind of finishing touch on things. So I've used a little bit on here. And then when I open up my card, you can see I've got some more of that patterned paper, another one of the gold dazzles, some cutouts collaged on here. These two are up on some foam tape. And then I've got my shutter style. This is decorated with some rub-ons and then a chipboard die cut. And then when I open it, I've got another cutout on here. Now again, I've got two of those gold dazzles, the straight line dazzles, and then I have this sentiment here. This is popped up on some foam tape, just for a little bit of dimension. And of course I've got a rub-on going on here on the corner. Super simple to do and a really fun way to add a little surprise into your handmade cards. And this is our final project of the day today. So a big thank you, as always, to our friends at Stamperia for another absolutely stunning collection. And a special thanks to you for joining me today. We're so glad you're here, and we're happy you're a part of our Paper Wishes family. Please do feel free to leave a comment. We'd love to hear what you think. Each item can be purchased separately, and you can see them below. However, we've also bundled them into a creative money saver just for you. For the money saver, just see this webisode on paperwishes.com. And if you're watching us on YouTube, have a look in the description box below this video. You'll find a link that will take you to our Paper Wishes webisodes page, and you can see everything I just mentioned. If you enjoyed our video today, we'd really appreciate a thumbs up. It helps people to find our channel. And don't forget to subscribe. We create 3 to 5 videos each week, so there's always something fun to inspire your creative spirit.